I will admit I haven't tested the Wyverns yet.
It's
Yeah,
like is it Nork or not Nork? Like, is it real? Who knows? This one's definitely not real.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Roundtable. This is Armored Infantry. I am Joshua Joshi Howard. I've got three more illustrious guests with me. We're going to start this time on my right. We have Jawad J. Salah, rising star over in the Australian scene. You recently had a pretty good showing at the ANZ TC, right? How'd that go for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. That was the Australian New Zealand Team Championships. Great day one, and then started the fall as we worked into more competitive opponents, ending with the captain of Team Australia, Eric, who taught me a new lesson of what it means to play competitive 40k. But was an awesome event.
Yeah, I know I've recently started seeing your name popping up quite a bit over the past 4 to 6 months. Because I know you were playing Demons before that, but what's been the journey like so far with Guard?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I think one of the biggest reasons of moving away from Demons, as much as I love them all of 10th, is such a skill cap when it comes to how you play them, especially looking into like Demonic Incursion, where you fail a 6-inch charge that you really needed, and your entire game plan crumbles, right? And so when I was looking at, hey, how can I look into armies that allow for a much more variance in skill, where playing it properly actually rewards you and you're not relying on luck as much as you normally are in other detachments, and landed on Guard, and yeah, it's been an awesome time.
Yeah, I've been seeing your name pop up a lot. So, but next, let's go ahead and move up. We're going to go to the top right. We have Nick Jagiello, one of the best Guard players up in Canada. Consistently one of the few players who's got a cat looking like going across our screen right now. But one of the strongest Hammer players, Hammer the Emperor players that we've seen in the world. But Nick, just like we had with Jay, you were a longtime Guard player, but it sounds like you're going back to some other things a little bit right now.
I was just messing around with Necrons for a little bit because all of 9th I essentially played Necrons, and as soon as the Codex came out, I played 5 games and immediately dropped them because they were a bit silly and the playstyle was really boring. And I've been like plugging along on Guard for Rule of Cool, and Orders are really fun. It's the best detachment rule in the game, hands down, next to like Emperor's Children, probably. That's all the extra charge stuff, but like you can't compete with Orders in terms of high level like competitive games on like a day 2 versus like round 5 or 6 or 7 that you're trying to get the first place. And the flexibility of Guard is just unbeatable. So it's it's still awesome. I'm going back to it. So there's like a huge team tournament this upcoming weekend in Ottawa. So back on the old faithful.
Nice. Well, good luck at Canhammer. Our last guest, we've seen him before. He still hasn't given me his manifesto on why Nork and Scions are so cool, but we have Gustavo de Sousa coming in, playing from the UK. And Gustavo, I think you're the player here who has played the most games with this new detachment. You've been absolutely in love with baby tanks. How's the experimenting been going?
It's very fast. That's about it. It's just fast and shoots hard. Well, depends who you ask, but shoots pretty hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, just played 4 games and it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah. So with that then, let's go ahead and start talking about it right away. I'm going to be talking about the enhancements and stratagems, passing it around to get some thoughts. And if you want to join in after that, for anybody who's watching at home, we have people coming in from all over the world, of course, in this. So bear with us a little bit on the latency, but it should be all right. So let's go ahead and start off with some of the detachment stuff. I'll throw this over to Jay at the beginning. The first rule, of course, we have Squadron Command. Add Squadron to the list of units each officer in your army can issue orders to. And in addition, you get a new order on my signal where you can give to Armored Skirmishers, such that anytime something moves within 9, you can make a normal move of D6. And of course, Armored Skirmishers are anything that is Squadron with 13 wounds or lower and does not have the artillery keyword. So let's go ahead and talk about this, Jay. How does this shape up in your mind?
Yeah, I think the detachment rule is fantastic, right? I think the clear use case here is Gaunt's Ghost, who are able to effectively uppy downy and flip orders on vehicles. every time they come down, which means you can effectively always put them in move your vehicles 13 or 15 inches, depending on what they are, and then flip them to take aim on my signal or whatever else you need them to have. So straight off the bat, I think increases the flexibility in which you can use your orders, significantly reduces reliance on units like Lord Solar, which a lot of individuals were using to get squadron orders out, and just allows you to really increase the number of regiment units, knowing that they can now use their orders on squadron units.
It doesn't have the same kind of like restrictiveness of Snap to it, but just having that ability to use different units all the time has been really nice. We're gonna go ahead and throw over our first enhancement to Nick. We have Exemplary Officer, an infantry officer model only. Each time the bearer issues an order to its own unit, you can select up to 2 other platoon units within 3 inches of the bearer's unit, and that order is also issued to each of those units.
I'm not interested in this enhancement in the detachment because it's not really about the platoon stuff. It's the dudes jumping out of transports and yarking back inside or etc. And like you're not around platoon builds here, so that was a pass.
Yeah. All right. Gustavo, we got Master and Maneuverist, infantry officer model only. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range and is within 3 of an Astra Militarum transport, you can embark within it.
So I've tried this one quite a bit actually, and I think I'm not sure if it's useless or if it's quite good, because it varies between 2 games being completely useless or being quite good. So the way I tried it is I put it in a Silent Command squad with Ogren Bodyguard, and then put that inside the Chimera. They order the Chimera from inside, then they get out and order swap something else. And then there's also another version where you can do like 10 Scions with Yarrick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Yarrick gets out, gets back in, does like 3 orders, and lets you order swap without putting your Guns Ghost in danger, which is quite nice. But also, if you need order swapping, you have other things, right?
Yeah.
Don't need to have a transport and a squad.
The Scions can't. It's 13, right?
No, it's just a 5 Scion Command squad with the Ogre, nothing else.
Oh, interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Because I thought maybe that's a tough unit that'll survive until next turn and then can run away.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, something to go hang out in your natural.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I like it with Yarrick the most, honestly.
Fair. All right, we're going to do our next run. I'm just going to throw this back to Jay. Omniscient Unguents. It's an aura. You put it on a Tech Priest Engine Seer, and while a friendly Armored Skirmisher, so again, all those small to medium vehicles, is within 3 inches of the bearer, that unit has the Feel No Pain 5+.
Yeah, I've actually been reading a lot of people talk about, some people are saying it's amazing, and some people are saying I could probably do without it in my list. And I think, look, fundamentally having effectively, a third of your wounds back on vehicles like Hellhounds, like your armored fighting vehicles, like the Hippos that are coming, the Centaurs, all it takes is surviving on 1 wound so that you can then do more stuff in the next turn, score objectives, do actions, etc. So, for me, it sounds like an auto include, but Gus, I'm sure he's tested. Probably every list has had this enhancement, so maybe he's in a better position to talk about it, but to me it seems like an auto include.
Yeah, I actually found it was really nice in conjunction with the new Commissar Graves vehicle, because you just have the 3 up, 4 up, 5 up Feel No Pain, and 5 OC means it's really obnoxious for your opponent to dislodge you from one of those objectives. And depending on what your terrain looks like, depending on what kind of formats you're playing on, sometimes you also have the move D6 inches, touch the middle objective, be next to an engine seer, and they're just like, I don't actually want to be here anymore. You can just go ahead and get out of dodge. I thought it was pretty powerful. But the last one, Nick, I'm sure we got another one that you're not super fond of. I hate this one because it is called Grand Strategist, which is, as we all know, also the name of an enhancement in another detachment. But this version, put in an officer model after both players have deployed. Even if you're inside a transport, you can redeploy 2 regiment or squadron units.
It was 20 points or something?
Sounds about right. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Like usually you don't have that many points floating in guard because you have so many fantastic 60-point choices, and in this one you're also grabbing sentinels, so
it's a whole 25 points.
Yeah, it's a lot.
25? No, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead then. These enhancements overall, they're kind of okay. Probably the most interesting one I've thought has definitely been the 5 of Feel No Pain. The rest of them, maybe interesting. Let's go ahead and get into the stratagems. And the first one, I think this is one that Gus has mentioned a couple of times, is one he really likes. It is Order the Advance for 1 CP. Start of your movement phase, you target an officer and select as many units as you want within 6 inches of that officer unit. Until the end of the phase, you get to re-roll advance rolls.
Oh, so this one is really nice with Ursula. So like on turn 1, on some terrain formats, you need to roll, oh, I need a 3-up advance to get in there. And just do it on everyone in your army. And then also on your go turn, when you send out the hippogriffs, and you can give assault to one of your hellhounds or chimeras or whatever, you can just get that consistency. And since it's free with Ursula, you get to generate the CP as well. I think it's not game breaking, but it's pretty nice to have, trying to be more consistent with your advances.
Yeah. Especially with all the assault on the hippogriffs, I'm sure just having that ability to get that extra little bit of movement must be really nice.
I like that it applies to everyone. So like engineers, sometimes you need a 2+ on the advance to get the mine off, or a 3+ or whatever, and you can really send them as missiles.
Yeah, nice.
Have you found that you've used it past turn 1, Gus?
I used it turn 1, and then I had 2 games where I used it on the turn where I sent out all my hippogriffs. And it didn't matter because I rolled a 5 and a 6 on all the advances anyways, but it's okay.
That almost makes me wonder then if it's better to use this proactively, or if you should just re-roll the advance if you need it.
I don't know. It's free with Ursula.
That's also
and there's not that much. Yeah. There's not that much else she can use to like farm a CP. So I was just like, yeah, I'll just do it with Ursula.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go right back on to Jay with Mobile Firebase. For 1 CP, in your movement phase, just after an Armored Skirmisher unit from your army advances or falls back, you are allowed to shoot if you advance or fall back.
Yeah, like, again, lead straight on from what Gus was just talking about. If you've got reroll advances, again, I don't think we touched on it, but Armored Skirmisher being all vehicles under 13 wounds. So your Hellhounds, your 2-model AFE units, or your 2-model Centaur units, able to move, shoot. How many melter shots, Gus? 6 melter shots, I think it is, from a unit of 2. It's quite nice, right? Especially if you can get the angle needed to still be within 18 inches, and then shoot, move after that, right? Quite effective. It's quite effective. I think it will come up situationally. Most likely, obviously, as the game goes on, has less effect. But certainly for turns 1 and 2, if there's targets of opportunity, always good and nice to have fallback and advance and shoot, right? It's something guards missed for quite a while.
Yeah. Nick, I do want to ask you here, because obviously you've been playing more Hammer of the Emperor than the rest of us combined, I'm sure. How much do you generally find yourself using the advance or fallback and shoot strats in your games?
That's a meat and potatoes strat. The caveat here is that the Armored Skirmishers are more killable in melee versus like a Rust Hull, but being like not worrying about being tagged opens up like board positioning, because sometimes you're like, oh, well, I want to shoot at this angle, but then I'm losing next turn of shooting at the targets I want to choose because I'm going to get connected with some like garbage units. But here you don't really have to worry about that anymore. So it's with a detachment too, all the reactive moves and stuff, it's kind of a messy list. But I suppose that's more like discussion later. It's a really it's fantastic. Fallback and shoot is fantastic. I wish I had charge just as for like a little bit of spice, because like neat options just to open up like tank shocks and like get deeper into lines, just because you want to tie crap up with like once your AFEs have like shot at their targets and you want to go run into various like parts of the board to stop movement. That would have been a little bit nicer, but nobody can complain about fallback and shoot. That's like the main thing that keeps guards somewhat balanced, because most lists like Grizzle, like you tag something and it's going to sit there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to come back to another weird one for you here, Nick. We have burst speed for 1 CP. At the end of your movement phase, any unit in your army that did not remain stationary or arrive from reserves, you can make a normal move of up to D6. This one's got some weird rules interactions.
Because you're not allowed to use it?
Yeah, in a lot of situations, yeah.
It just doesn't work, right? Because you move and the current rules says you can't move twice.
You
So-
can't normal
Only
move
to-
twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you have to advance and then normal move? Oh. I mean,
Fall
you're...
back.
Fall back. Or fall back.
Yeah. If it just let me normal move and then normal move again, I'd be like 10 out of 10 because I want my Rough Riders to go behind their board and like into their deployment like box or their cart, which would be fantastic in terms of reaching distance. But I think the double move rider from the whatever the FAQ was like last year or something that limits it. But the advance and shoot, I mean, your only advance and shoot is like the either double spending CP for the strats or like the hippos or like Death Rider guns. So
Yeah, I do want to tell you guys a story about like probably the 2 best CP I've ever spent in a game. So the first game that I played with this, I had a Centaur filled with Kazarkin, and there's a Lictor hiding behind a wall. And I rolled my advance on the Centaur. I gave it move, and it moved up. And it was... I needed to roll a 4 in order to get the advance in order to be able to see. But the timing of these strats is really awkward, right? Because during your movement phase is when you have to decide whether or not you're going to advance and shoot or not. So you had to spend that CP beforehand. And then I rolled a 3 at the end of the movement phase in order to see whether or not I could move even farther. So I'm spending 2 CP to not shoot a Lictor, which was probably not the best play in all of my games. So I figured you guys would all enjoy that little bit of like timing weirdness that ends up coming with that. With that,
Did you
guys,
kill the Lictor?
I did not. I didn't even get to shoot it. I rolled a 3. But guys, we're going to come right back to you with supporting guardians for 1 CP. During your shooting phase, you take an Armored Skirmisher unit that has not yet been selected to shoot, and then whenever you make an attack against a monster or vehicle, you can reroll the hits.
This one is really nice on a Chimera, just because firing it. A Centaur, just because firing it. And on the Hippo, because it has a lot of melter shots. It's just basically, I need this thing dead, and no Sentinel has spotted. I press the button. Okay, that helps. It's very straightforward, just rerolls to it.
Rerolls is always good. We have our next one, and Jay, I think we get the meat and potatoes of this one in combined fire at 1 CP. In your shooting phase, just after an Armored Skirmisher unit has shot, you target the Armored Skirmisher and select one or more enemy units, or select one unit hit by one or more of attacks, and until the end of the phase, that enemy unit cannot have cover, and every time one of your Armored Skirmishers shoots that unit, you get +2 strength against it.
Yeah, really good stratagem, right? I think you obviously want to be using something like a Chimera, a Sentinel, something that's not going to have too much of an impact to use this straight after on. +2 strength on all those melters is quite fantastic, right? Going to strength 11 really increases the reliability that melter was lacking, I guess, for all guard, right? You got this mid-brawl army that was wounding most things on 5s that it wanted to really be wounding, on 3s on, and now you get it. Still, I think, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s isn't the most reliable for a lot of people, but I think, it's likely a stratagem you're going to be using for as long as your AFEs are alive. 3 melter shots at strength 11 is no joke, especially if they're advancing, moving, shooting, probably getting the +2 from melter on all those shots. It's going to be something you probably want to save a CP for every time.
I think it opens up because it's also the ignore covers, so your AFVs can take the tiniest angle, so they reactive move after shooting much more safely. And as long as they're T10 or 11, your chances to pop those like common tournament units is relatively solid. Like you toss it like a melt a mine or a grenade or something, you're hitting like 90% plus kill rates on like Vindicators and things like that with like 6 shots. Like, because often you're gonna get a Sentinel line on a thing because you want to run Sentinels in this army. So hitting on 3s or on 1s, and then like there's enough output that like you're comfortable. Like 2 squadrons of hippos playing a flank should be able to clean up any like exposed heavy hitters. Mind you want to be like relatively close to, but you have lots of transports and gunk to like maintain. Like board control and position to prevent movement.
Yeah.
Super good,
Really
and then
nice
just
person.
everyone in the army benefits too. So like the random pot shots from this guy or that guy, like the firing deck, like you might just shoot a melt gun out of your chimera, and it's like, oh, well, off we go.
Yeah. Gus?
It's also really nice with Ursula because she can use it on the Sentinel for free.
Now, there was an interesting conversation before we talk about our last stratagem in here about what the best kind of uses for the stratagem really are in terms of what you proc it off of, right? Because you do need to shoot something first, and so there's kind of a bit of a conversation to be had here, right? Like, do you use like the stubber off of a chimera, or should you use try and hope that the las cannon hunter killer on a scout sentinel is going to hit? And Gustavo, having played this a little bit more than the rest of us, I'm kind of curious what your experience has been in terms of actually getting the strat to go off in the first place.
I would say it's 90% of the time a scout sentinel that's holding like a long line and sitting in the back and being like, oh, I see the tip of your vindicator, okay, +2 strength. While the rest of the army pushes up and they just keep drawing the small lines and buffing the army.
Have you had any issues with the inconsistency of the fact that you might only get one shot?
Because you need to hit. I don't think you need to hit.
You do. Select one enemy unit, hit.
Gustavo math is a different though.
I don't think I've missed, but
Just don't miss.
Just don't miss.
I mean,
always line
you
up, right? You can always line up a few units.
Yeah.
Try it with the worst, kind of work your way up. Right? Yeah.
Like, I had enough random units in my army that I feel like triggering this strat won't be an issue. Maybe triggering it for free if I have to hit is an issue, but we'll see if it ever comes up.
Oh, is that the Wyvern tech? Interaction.
Yes, the Wyvern.
Yeah. Well, Nick, we got to go to the
don't
last
go down this road.
Let's go ahead and get into the last stratagem here for you, Nick. We have opening salvo, and this one I think is actually one of the best things we're going to pass to you. At the start of your, or during your shooting phase, you take an Astromilitarum unit from your army that disembarked from a transport and has not yet shot. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the wound roll when they shoot.
+1 to wound is very good. And they just added this guy called Yarick that lets guys get back inside transports, so you just keep doing it over and over and over again in terms of like the simplest use of that like model, because it's almost impossible to like not trigger from like mid-board chimeras hiding behind walls. Like your caster can get out or your scions get out and something tries to go stand on an objective, and you're like, well, goodbye, I'm back inside the box, and we're just going to keep triggering this. So it's kind of like your scions can just be bridgehead scions again, which everyone, if they remember back to just hurting people, is a brutal amount of damage.
Yeah.
And also you can hop out and then get it off for free with like a mid-board Creed hanging out like somewhat near Yark. Like there's a lot of stacking buffs that can just shred through whatever they're exposing, or you just press the button and Yark their unit to death. Like there's a lot of silly things as 11th goes towards or 10th ends and 11th shows up. So
yeah. I do want to kind of open the floor as well a little bit here. I know, Gus, we'll go ahead and come to you first with the fact that we have a bunch of new units that feel like they were custom made for this detachment in a lot of ways, right? We have the new Commissar Graves in the car. We have, of course, the Hippogriff. We have the new Centaur. Yarrick is like not directly made for this. He just seems incredibly good overall. But which of the new units have you really been enjoying in this?
So I've kind of been avoiding Yarrick because I feel like he's too stupid. Like,
fair.
That's definitely not gonna last. So I was like, okay, I'll just try the normal version without Yarrick. So I've tried one game with him. It was broken. I already knew that, and then I went to try on the new stuff, right? So the Hippogriffs are amazing in this detachment. They're like super good. They combo with all the strats. They fit into the game plan. They are quite tanky with the 4 Pinville, 5 Affilmo Pain from the engines here. I was putting them like in the open, and my opponent had 2 rep X's. He's like, okay, maybe I can't shoot at this actually, because you have a 4 Pinville and a 5 Affilmo Pain and smoke. I gotta off these 2 little stupid baby cars sitting in the middle. What sense does that make, right? Yeah. So that's definitely the best unit in this detachment.
Mhm.
And then
Well, before you get too
Graves.
far here, I actually
Okay,
am
when
curious because I know that Jay, you've said that you haven't had a whole lot of success with the hippogriffs. You haven't been enjoying them.
It's not that I haven't been enjoying them. It's more so, I look at what else we have in the guard, arsenal. And at 70 points a pop, I know Gustavo's running them in units of 2. I see a Vanquisher and I see 2 hippogriffs, right? And he's already shaking his head, but I see, you get 6 melter shots with one, you get 4 melter shots, but a Vank, Hunter Killer, and Last Cannon in addition. So almost the same amount of shots, but I guess the Vank just edges it out with a better complete arsenal of shots. And then that's strapped to a hull that's a 2-up armor save, a T11 with 13 wounds, etc. And it's going to take a lot from Gus to convince me otherwise. Not that he has to anyway, but
I mean, there's also Nick down
convincing me.
here. He's shifted over,
Yeah.
but I know he's one of the biggest Vanquisher merchants that we have in the world. So
Yeah. So I just don't. I'm not fully convinced that 2 hippos wins against a Vanquisher.
I'm surrounded by Vanquisher lovers.
I think my camera might have died.
That's all right.
In this detachment, hippos are, I don't know if they're more fun, that's for sure. Vanquishers are still, seems to be like they're, people either love them or hate them. I'm kind of fine with them just as a magnet unit to draw like other things out. And hippos, if something connects with them, they are pretty much dying. So there's that thing to consider with them. I don't know. I think just the mobility, like 12-inch move plus move, and like Oath of Moments on a CP and like advance and shoot, like that opens up a lot of potential threat range. But you don't. I mean, you have that in Hammers specifically with a Vanquisher because you can YOLO 19, but the gameplay for this detachment coupled with like there's just so many reactive moves you can set up that positioning and movement ordering is just a nightmare for your opponent and that's a lot of both like brain power that's kind of like melting through like their just ability to play the game and like clock time and decision making, and that's kind of a fun element that I think Armored Infantry brings as opposed to like regular card.
Now, Gus, I know that you've talked a little bit about the fact that you use the hippogriffs in conjunction with Kazarkin inside a transport in order to go hunting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So they're the only unit in guard I find, besides Rapid Ingress Scions, that can actually like keep up with Kazarkin and go hit people behind walls. Like a Vanquisher is very pre-measurable, but hippos can get to a stupid amount of move where like sure you can pre-measure it, but I'll still get there anyways from like my safe staging area. So I've played most of my games on UKTC, which you have like a big ruin. I've played some on WTC, which also have some nice staging for hippogriffs I found. And yeah, I just liked having an extra unit that can go. So Chimera moves up, disembark Kazarkin, they melt a mine, grenade, something. The hippos shoot, they take this slight line and then shoot and then run back behind the line, and then Kazarkin have move blocked as like a first line, and then there's a Chimera, and then there's some hippos behind it. And I found that was quite hard to like deal with if you miss position at all. And also at the same time, I don't care about them getting tagged because they could just fall back and shoot. A lot of the times I even like fall back and shoot and I roll the desperate escape. So I don't care. I just go forward into their deployment zone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things because when I was bringing this up, right, it is a fairly expensive package. You know, the Kazarkin at 110, the Hippos at 70 a pop, so 140, we're already up to 250, and the Transport another like 80 points, so that's like a little more than like 330 points that we're going to go hunting with. But, you know, Gus's very quick response to that was, well, yeah, but how many points is the Rhino plus whatever inside the Rhino, right? That's usually going to be also about 300 points, and they're losing a ton of space off of it at the exact same time. So it is a little bit interesting to me. It is one of those things where I've been finding the Hippogriff. My first game with Armored Infantry was on Games Workshop terrain, and I found it it is fast, but unfortunately it was kind of missing some of those range issues. So I'm kind of looking forward to 11th tightening up a lot of those to potentially have a little bit more opportunities. Nick or Jay, have you had a little bit of opportunity to play on like some of the WTC boards at all?
Mostly WTC here, so you have more agency to control like sightlines and like move blocking is more relevant. The package does work because again, it depends on what else is on the list too. Like if you're recycling stuff into transports and keeping it alive, but like the Chimera can also be move blocking. Like that was the one thing in terms of list building for Armored Infantry is like where are my orders coming from? Because you got Creed and Yarrick if you're an unethical player, or if you have Gonskos dropping in switching orders. So that I haven't like figured out 100% yet what I would want to have, but like the Chimera could be rescuing itself or getting in the way of other movement. Like you can conserve the hippos and like any transports, they just mulch like strength 11. Like it's just the right ignoring cover. Like rhinos and stuff are just not on the table anymore, and those are pretty common in terms of like solid builds. Strength 11 is also the right number to like wound defilers on 4s, which are the spooky dudes at the moment. And you're not super well. Hippos don't want to get shot by defilers, but you're also very fast and move blocking reactive moves. So the wrong ordering, that move defiler never actually moves and never reaches an objective to like cover the entire pie plate with. It's definitely better on 11th stuff. I haven't looked a lot into 11th, just because I'm sure I'll read through it when it shows up and just waiting for the full Monty to be revealed. But like it does look more like in your face fighting, and like if you're driving forward with assault vehicles with good melta strength and transports, like you're where you want to be, because everyone's going to be standing in larger area terrain objectives, so there's more but like more condensed because you have giant backfields that are completely empty for some reason.
Jay, what's your experience been like?
Yeah, I haven't had too much physical experience. I've done some trials just on simulator to see, positioning, how far forward we can go. Similar to your opinion with Games Workshop terrain, I think there isn't, just with how open it is, right, and with how vulnerable those hulls are. You can get an engine sear on one of those AFVs, the other two, i.e. the other 4 vehicles, end up being quite vulnerable. I do like them on WTC a lot more. I think there's a bit of, and again, it all comes down to how you use them in your list. If you're using them as chaff, or if you're using them as early transport poppers, or if you're using them as cheap scoring early game. But I do think there's a bit of, there's like a dichotomy between, guard predominantly wanting, say if you're vehicle heavy, you want a light board, the AFVs want a heavy board, right? You want terrain to be able to stage behind, to then, as far forward as you can, to then propel them as screens, to propel that package that Gus was talking about. And then, the converse of that is, if you do want to take a heavier board, then those guns that you have lined up, the Yarrick package that you have to activate at the end of the opponent's movement phase, well, maybe you don't have line of sight anymore because of the density of the terrain. So I think it's just something interesting. I think, after ANZ TC that I was talking about at the start, I kind of took a bit of a lull with Warhammer, so I haven't physically played any of this yet. But, if Gus is saying it works pretty well, then, I trust.
He says a lot of things work well that I don't always believe.
Yeah.
So, you have to be careful of that.
Look, I've already put Wyverns in my list. So.
Any day now, it's coming.
Yeah.
How funny will it be if they're broken in 11?
Oh, stop gaslighting. The enhancement does let you do some shenanigans, like the 5-up Field Pain, like a 2 or 3 Hellhounds, or like, that's like the dumbest thing to say. Like an armored sentinel with like 4-up involved 5-up Field Pain. It's not a good unit, but a reactive armored, like it just seems miserable to actually try to like pin down, and it costs nothing. And like I was playing Necrons recently, and 4-up invuln 5-up Field Pain is just like guard right now. You have to like do positioning and like planning ahead and making sure your movement is accurate. But there are armies in the game like Necrons where you say like lol 4 up, and then you just win the game because lol 4 up.
Yeah.
And having that option available, because the 5 of Feel No Pain is, I think it's like 50%. Like it depends on what's hitting you, but like 2 damage attacks, like you can waste so many virtual dice rolls or wounds.
It's like 50%, basically.
Yeah,
I think that's the max.
it's dirty,
Yeah.
right? And you can just have a scam element built into the list, so the more ways you have to win, like they just like if it breaks through like hellhounds or whatever, like chimeras or whatever you like mess around with to like try to take advantage of the and it's an aura too, so you have a whole pile of 5 of Feel No Pain jerks. Like the Graves, like Car is just a billion wounds to actually kill.
Yeah. Well, I actually want to talk a little bit more about that data sheet there, Nick, because I feel like Commissar Graves was one of the ones that I was really impressed with in the very first time that I played it, just because that 3 up, 4 up, 5 up with 5 OC is really obnoxious for a lot of people to kind of deal with. And I'm kind of curious what other people's thoughts are, because it's not the only way to use it. One of the big things for here, Jay, is of course that you're going to be able to take a bunch of infantry and just cycle them out. So a lot of people thought that you could just order yourself as soon as you exited the vehicle. That was not true, but now Commissar Graves makes it true, and suddenly you can get 12 inches out of a vehicle immediately, and that's a lot of speed.
Yeah, it's it opens up part of the boards you wouldn't normally reach. It is hard to like be within range because it's like 6 inches, so
26.
Graves might be playing somewhere else, so you want to be like very specific. You're like cast one up, but as a data sheet, it's just OC plus wounds plus speed is generally good because 5 is usually enough to flip something. Like a Catan is 4, so like Graves driving up, just touch an objective, is just like hello, like you've now lost that potential differential.
Mm-hmm.
The melee is kind of whatever. The start of the phase battle shock thing. So like if you fail your battle shock, you're still not going to score. Like a unit is standing mid board with a couple of models left, and you fail it. But that could have been a little nicer. But not really going to complain about that. Then I mean, Guard for some reason now just got a whole pile of like Space Marine captain characters in terms of melee. Like I'm not sure when that happened. Like why are we all hitting on 2s and strength 6 or strength 8? Like that's not really Guard's thing, but I guess we're doing that now, so why not? Yeah, melee is good.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I was curious, what are your thoughts on Graves?
Yeah, I think like the battle shock mechanic is always nice to have, right? I know, the commissars are once per battle round. This is once per turn, and then foot graves is once per.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, so vehicle graves is once per turn. Foot graves is once per phase, which is just insane. I think that's definitely going to get changed. But what I like about the vehicle mechanics is only the vehicle has to be within 6 inches, or at least if I've interpreted it correctly, only the vehicle has to be within 6 inches of graves, right? And so just simple things like on turn 1, if you have, some Catachan or some scouting unit embarked in the Chimera Scout 6 within 6 inches of graves, they get out 3 inches, they then move 9 inches. There's a lot of movement, right, which can be gained from a unit like that to start putting up early screens similar to, the way of recon, right? Just flooding their lines to then be able to set up your AFVs to then do that second turn, third turn, and then by the time your screens are dead by turn 4 or 5, you don't really care about primary because you've denied them for 3 turns straight, right? So even if they max it by the end, you're still up, which is kind of how Guard wins their games, right? Just standing on circles better than the opponent. So I definitely like Graves. I think it is going to be interesting between deciding foot graves or vehicle graves. I think certainly for Armoured Infantry, vehicle graves probably takes that spot. In the other detachments, it's probably a bit more of a conversation to have based off what you want what you want out of the list, the points that you have to spend. Obviously, if you're looking at Yarrick at 150, Vehicle Graves, you're starting to rack up a whole bunch of points in individual units. So
For sure.
yeah.
The Grace Mobile is definitely something I would like in Armored Infantry, but I do want to pivot a little bit because one of the conversations I've been seeing a lot online, especially in places like Reddit, where I go over to Gustavo here, is a lot of people there have been saying that the new Centaur, the new transport at 85 points is dead on arrival. They do not think it's any good. They do not think you should take it over the Chimera. What has your experience been?
So this is very interesting for me because all the new stuff, so Hippogriffs, Graves, and the Centaur go up to OC6, which is the best number in the game for a single thing to be, because you auto see Land Raiders, you auto see 5-man squads. Yeah,
Great
it's just
demons.
an amazing breakpoint, right? And if you have an army where every one of your units hits that breakpoint, then it automatically helps you deny primary better, right? Because you only have to commit 1 unit instead of 2 for some situations. So I'm taking... Now, there is to be said that the Centaur is not the best combat vehicle. It's very squishy. It has fire index, so it's roughly similar output to a Chimera, right? So I'm taking one right now, and we'll see later. I like having it and just throwing it on my expansion or using it to drive and then shoot from inside, because if you can skirmish from inside your vehicle, you basically unlock a free life. I like to think of it like that because nothing in the game will kill 2 units if something's inside the vehicle in one activation. So they always need to give you 2 things, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, holding objectives and staying inside is super powerful. It's definitely will have use. We'll see in 11th edition how it is. But
Yeah.
I think right now I'm taking one, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to throw it over to Nick here as well because if there are 2 units I know Nick likes, the first one was Vanquishers. He was running them quite a bit, but before that, he was a major defender of the Chimera as one of the best units in the game. And with the new Centaur coming out, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on how they compare.
The Centaur definitely, like the OC element is pretty big. Chimera though is a real tank versus like Eldar, Sisters, like Tyranid, Greeblies. It depends on like what your local meta might be, and like sometimes that Chimera might be as good as a Lehman Russ in terms of clearing scoring units. The firing deck is kind of the like Chimera and the is it Centaur? Like they're the same in terms of damage, but because you have 2 heavy flamers plus 18 chunk shots versus 2 melta guns, like a 3 damage sniper, and then like some hot shot stuff. So kind of similar. The hunter killer is not fake. Sometimes it hits and says like good day, and like just kills the thing, which is really nice. You just gotta believe real hard. Better tank shock because strength it's T7, right?
I believe so.
T7.
Yeah.
Yeah, T7 is not a good number. Like plasma is real rude into it, as opposed to like a Chimera, you can just bounce a lot, and it's also strength 4 is real, so it is significantly squishier at the same points. I don't mind 1 for like the OC flipping stuff, but I don't know what the real size is yet in terms of like
It's
positioning.
very similar to a Chimera, actually. Very similar.
Can it fit under a second floor?
Yeah, they're pretty short.
Short, so
yeah.
I think I'm still like raw Chimeras just because they're.
That's totally fair. Jay, I'm kind of curious because there's been a lot of focus on the Centaur in general because I really like the fact that it moves at 2 extra inches. I really like the fact that it's OC5 naturally with just guys, and so it makes your natural that much more difficult to assail early on. But it's also like not bad just going to go, I always call it punching someone in the mouth. Have you spent a lot of time thinking about what you would do with this?
Look, I'm going to be honest with you, and you've probably seen this with the way that I play. I don't really run transports. Right? I know you were talking about how great Chimeras are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm much more of either my infantry's on the board and my tanks are there, or I don't run the list like that, right? So
that's fair.
I haven't really looked at the Centaur. I'm a big fan of, you know, exactly what Gus said, right? Coming from a player who used to play a lot of greater demons, man, OC6 was the bane of my existence, right? Because it was just like I'd commit a great unclean one onto the center point, and they'd put 3 intercessors on, and I'd be like, looks like I need to put another great unclean one, right? So I think having something as flexible as the Centaur, yeah, it's a bit of points, but having it activation locked behind the transport, you blow up the transport, the guys get out and still hold the point for you. Fantastic play, right?
Yeah.
Forces someone to actually commit something serious to take the point off you, not just 5 scouts that are OC1, right? Which is what a lot of people tend to do when it comes to, well, if you contested my expansion, I'll try to contest yours. It's not that easy anymore, right?
Yeah. I've definitely been of the opinion that your first transport should still probably be a Chimera, but your second one is where it becomes about 50-50 as to whether or not, where you want to go. And I think by the time you have 2 Chimeras, the third one should definitely be a Centaur, just so you have that different kind of piece. So it's definitely a very interesting thing. But I do want to talk a little bit more. Let's go back up to Gus, because I think he has the most games. Give us a little bit of an idea of what lists are looking like in Armored Infantry for you right now.
So I've tried a few, and there's I'm still in testing right now, and I'm not really sure what the best list is yet. But so I'll just tell you parts of it I liked. So I like triple transport with Kazarkin, amazing. I like Krieg Engineers because it's a CP hungry detachment. You need help against toughness 12, and they help, right? They help save CP on grenades and have the melt money to toughness 12. I like the Hellhounds moving castle. So this one it was either 2 Hellhounds and Graves, or just 2 Hellhounds, and they just walk around the board and be like a little fortress that strips cover and keeps contributing to damage. And they're just unreasonably tanky, to be honest, with 5 of Feel No Pain. For their points, it's pretty dumb. And then I was pairing that with Graves, so in UKTC, going from 9 to 12 inches is enough. That lets you sit in your home ruin and disembark Kazarkin on the opponent's home ruin plate. And then next turn you do that again, you do that again, you do that again. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. And then
of course, the
I
6
also
baby
tried
tanks.
the 6 baby tanks I auto take. Obviously, you're gonna play the baby tanks on the baby tank detachment. You take 6. Scout Sentinels, very good. They give you rerolls and they work well with Ursula. Then Ursula gives you the free CP. CP hungry detachment gives you the orders. Last thing is probably like Scions. Scions are very good because a cool interaction is they can sit inside the Chimera, order their own Chimera, and then the Chimera moves out, they get out, order themselves, and then Gunskos land next to them and order them again. And I found that very
too many
cool.
orders, though?
Because they order... Is it? Doesn't work from inside, and then when you get out, you do it again?
I'm still pretty sure it's Battle Round. I would have to double check on how the voice of command is worded.
If it doesn't work, forget it. It's just
Glad we
I still take Scions. They're pretty good. Actually, I found one of big weakness in this army is like the order economy can be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Because I have Ursula command squad. That's 4, and I have ghosts that are swapping, so it's not like a straight order. And I have a lot of MSU units, so also something to think about later.
Now, Nick, you were talking a little bit about how you're trying to figure out what the order economy looks like. What has your solutions been looking like?
I'm not quite sure there yet either. Like Grizzled recently has been all the orders you can eat. Like it is like the Yarick thing, because Yarick takes that detachment and makes it pretty silly. Like your Scions deep strike near an area where you're going to put a transport, and then they're going to want to do something about those Scions, and you're like, goodbye, we're in the transport now that's near a wall, and you kill the transport, and I'm on the other side of the wall, and now I just come and kill you. Or if they don't position, you just like blast them, or you charge some junk. Like in this one, you have a lot of like Scout Sentinels, like a Yarick trigger sending a Scout Sentinel into their 400 points or 500 points of Khorne Berserkers is like, all right, cool. Like, let's go to the next round. Yeah. So it is, like Gustavo said, it's a very silly unit. Like the 3 abilities should have been like separate notes instead of 3. Like, it's the first like 5 ability guy with 3 in 1. Like they should have just been split. because the flexibility is a headache to play around. And like if I'm jamming this detachment, I just want to be as annoying as possible. So I want like reactive move chimeras with heavy flamers, reactive move hellhounds, reactive move scout sentinels, like everything moves. The AFV, like it is a nightmare to position against, and like the wrong movement ordering, or you get within range of something, like stuff goes away and then or gets into range, triggering this and that. Like it's, I think the Hellhound Castle is fantastic because even if they shoot the Hellhounds to death, you still have usually a lone up engineer who's running around saying, all right, now we have like super chimeras and like other elements of the list that are benefiting, or like a 4-up invuln sub 5-up feel no pain like Scout Sentinel that in 11th it's going to be better because there's more positioning for like a little character to like hide behind walls, and like I'm mostly WTC, so there's some corners of L's you can hang out in, but some is exposed, and it depends if you're in teams or not.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, but dudes and transports, Casterkin. I like the Jay mentioned that like Catachans, like Scouts, the Chimera 6, with whatever. You go 12 out of it, then advance. Like you're reaching the deployment zone if you roll like an average advance.
Yeah.
And for 65 points, killing their movement phase is potentially game winning.
For sure.
Which is not a bad, like Hammer, I always had rattlings in it. And occasionally you would just win games turn one because like they like you would last deployed the rattlings, and it's like, well, I'm gonna 50-50 go first. And if you hit that die roll, then like you time walk them, and then you're just standing on objectives, and then they have to respond to your board position where you have a huge advantage. So that is pretty accessible in this, and 10 Catachans is a bigger footprint than 5 rats.
Yeah.
So
I do want to throw something over to Jay here, because one of the interesting things that we keep talking about this reactive move, but I found it a little bit weird on the timing on how to actually set it up. Because one, if you give the reactive move order on your turn, you obviously don't have move, or you don't have the take aim, which can be really, really big. And then you can't rapid ingress something in order to give yourself the reactive move, because that will come in afterwards. So I'm kind of curious then on what your thoughts are on this reactive move order, because on paper it sounds amazing, but in practice it seems a little bit harder to use.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to be using it from the perspective of like flipping with Gaunt's Ghost or getting out of transport. So still in your turn, obviously, like you said, you won't be able to rapid ingress an orders unit because the movement phase is over, right? In the opponent's turn. But I think, if you do a move with an AFV, a Sentinel, a Hellhound, whatever it might be, an Armoured Skirmisher unit, to a position where the tip of its barrel can peek over, get an angle on something so that you can strip cover, put 3 melter shots into it, and then drop Corn's Ghost behind it, or get a Scion squad, Scion command squad out behind them, but within 6 inches. Flip their order to the, I guess for the AFVs it's not needed because it's part of their ability, but say another vehicle, and then flip their order that way. But again, it comes down to order economy, right? Like I see an order that is like, okay, well, I'm already using so many orders, right? So it's like, how am I finding another 2 or 3 orders to flip, or is it even necessary? It's my next question, right? If my AFVs are doing this by themselves, do I need to give my opponent 6 of my vehicles on the hope that I roll the required number to reactive move back behind a wall? Or do I just rely on my AFVs to do it, angle snipe on whatever they need so that our 1 gets them behind a wall? And I only send out my other vehicles on an as-needed basis to either strip cover or proc that stratagem that allows us to strip cover and +2 strength.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those things I think looks great on paper, but once you start trying to figure out the economy behind it, probably ends up being towards the bottom of the list.
I'll say the only time I used it is turn 1, where I go first. I can't quite hit my opponent, so I just go 1 guy here, 1 guy here, 1 guy here on all objectives. They all have reactive moves. Have fun. You can try and solve that. Most of the time it's just like, oh, I'll walk into it anyways. but sometimes I roll that 6. I never used it outside of turn 1.
Yeah.
I think that big thing is heavy flamer reactive move chimeras can split themselves from the squad they just dumped. So instead of having a dead squad plus a tagged chimera, you now have an active chimera that can go like run, do it in like a secondary, like tank shock something, clear up like some chaff behind the wall, depending on like where you position. Because I mean, you could usually still tag it, or you can strand a melee unit that wants to pile into it. But if they're piling into a chimera that's now forcing them to like go into the open, your shooting is that much easier. So there's a lot more potential like gameplay shenanigans available through that. And like it's chimeras, hellhounds, and at least like scouts. Like you can conserve a scout sentinel turn 1, like on like toe in, do your turn 1 mid board, like. You just assume they're going to die always, but now
they
you
might
might
not.
just have an extra scout central next turn. So
yeah, we're pulling up to the end of the hour here for the roundtable, so I do want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. But I want to start off with a quick discussion about where we think this detachment is going to end up, like overall, both for this edition, a little bit on next edition, and then we'll end with hot take. So we're going to come to you, Jay, first to go ahead and say, if you had to put this detachment on a tier list just purely for 10th, where do you think it would end up?
Look, if I'm honest, I don't see it being higher than Grizzled or Recon, but I think it's immediately below those, right? I think probably in line with Hammer, right, where Hammer has a specific play style, a specific purpose. Players tend to generally lean into that because that's what brought them into guard / you're good at what you enjoy playing, right? And I think Armoured Infantry is no different, right? It skews towards the transports, the light vehicles, reactive moves. Just on a side note, I always say the strongest part of the reactive move is talking about the reactive move, right?
Yeah.
And so I think having a plethora of options when it comes to how you use those is fantastic. But does it beat, in my opinion, Grizzled? I don't think so, right? Does it beat Recon in the way that Recon wants to be played? Again, I think it falls a bit short from that. But I think it's still a very good detachment.
Sounds like
I think you'll definitely see wins.
Sounds like you're going to put it in like maybe high B tier then.
Yeah. So I should have actually asked what is the scale of the tier list, right? But yeah, if we're talking, Recon's S, Grizzled's A, I would say Hammer and and Wyvern's at S plus, right? I would say B tier alongside Hammer. I think they're opposites of the same style of list, where one skews into vehicles, the other skews into light vehicles.
Yeah. Nick, we're gonna go the same question. If you had to put Armored Infantry into tier list, where do you think it would end up?
I think it's A, just speed wins games. OC, well, there's shenanigans and speed are all you need. Like Eldar still wins games despite if local players, there's some Eldar experts and they still consistently do well despite issues with the army, and just mostly because speed plus dudes standing places is how you win the warhams. And there's a plethora of that in Armored Infantry. There's headaches to give your opponent. The more your opponent has to think, the more opportunities they have to make mistakes. +1 to wound is a really good strat. The +2 strength and ignore cover is a fantastic strat. Oath a Moment on some hippos or something is really good. I can definitely see solid board control, and in terms of what do you expect, the scariest things are 2 Rapexes coming at you, 2 Defilers. There's a lot of armies that are reliant on 2 strong castle type shooty units, and then a melee brick or 2. But melee you can counter pretty hard with reactives or positioning or screening with this, and you have all the movement you need to get those actions done. And strength 11 hippos are enough. You don't want to run into T12. Because they do 5 or 6 wounds on average, so it's not the greatest. But
yeah,
that's where your melt-a-mines and grenades and other bits come into play. I wish the extra move applied to just regular moves, I'm always a big fan of like Rough Riders. It's not a Rough Rider detachment, but never leave home from without them because just as fun scamming people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it sounds like you're putting it in
Yeah.
A tier. We're gonna go ahead and go to Gustavo last. Where would you put this on a tier list of detachments?
So, I would say, in my own personal tier list of would I take it to an event? Yes, I would take it to an event tomorrow, probably. I think it's quite good because I feel like, unlike Grizzle, that speed gives me more agency to go and get my opponent, which is just the way I like to play. I like to go get him. Don't really like to play slow games, right? So it's just, for me, it works really well. Grizzle is still probably better.
Yeah.
But in terms of what this army does, it's very different from Grizzled, and it does do some powerful things. So I'll definitely take it to an event, and I think I could do well with it. No
Yeah,
problem.
that's totally fair. This definitely feels like an attachment where that really leans into the things that you want to do, which is play as little Warhammer as possible. So
Yes,
it ends up working
Alpha
out quite well.
Strike.
Yeah. So with that, I want to go
Everything
ahead
is
and go ahead.
everything has scout
Yeah.
or go fast. So I'm happy.
So I do want to close out with a couple of hot takes. I'm going to go ahead and start with one, and then we're going to go ahead and go right on back to Gustavo to give us a hot take. I think that we are going to see a GT win with this before the end of the edition. We've got about 6 weeks left, and I think this is the kind of thing that's really going to speak to some players, and I'm expecting that we will see a couple of players really doing some hot stuff with it. I don't even know if that's that hot of a take. I think it's definitely strong enough to do it. But Gustavo, give us a hot take about this before we close out the event.
Everyone will remember the Wyvern Alpha Strike any day now.
Any day
coming.
now.
For 11th edition, I think Wyverns will be completely broken.
We
That's
gotta
my
get a
hot take.
new emote in my Discord called Gaslighting, you know?
It's the fact he says it so confidently, right?
Because I've generated the idea.
It's generated.
Now I just have to apply it.
My favorite part of this was him telling one of the other Discords, why would I ever play Yarick when I could take a Vanquisher? And I know this man hates Vanquishers. But Nick, let's go ahead and come back to you. What's a hot take you have about Armored Infantry?
Wyverns will be banned because they're too strong.
Oh boy.
Everyone loves the Wyverns.
Yeah, I'm on the Wyvern train now. He's convinced me.
New cultists.
Yeah. I'm gonna attach my Nork to my Wyvern.
Oh boy. Give it the 4 feel of pain. That would really push it over the edge. Anything else, or should I see what Jay has to say?
Gaunt's Ghost is the best unit in Guard.
Fair. It's always
It
very
just
good.
scores the most points. It's the easiest to use. And Trigon Bragg is a champion. He kills everything. I don't know why. I believe in Bragg.
Dude, there's something. There's Gus math, and there's got to be Nick math as well. But Jay, you have any hot takes about Armored Infantry?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to do quite well. I think it's quite technical, right? I think people don't quite understand how technical it's going to be. Similar to why I said it's got some parallels with Hammer, where you're reactive moving and advancing a lot of vehicles, right? And vehicles block vehicles. And I think when people realize that, that reactive move that I had planned is actually being blocked, by a millimeter by my other vehicle, which means I can't actually get to the spot that I want to get to. I think that's going to steer people away from the technicalities of that army back to Grizzled. But I think, it's just as with every other guard detachment, I think those who can unlock, really understand the core rules of the game, understand the mechanics of the game, understand how to pre-position, pre-measure, etc. I think exactly like what Gus said, there's going to be some GT wins that come out of this detachment for sure.
Well, there you have it. Sounds like we all think it's going to be pretty good. Whether or not it's going to be quite up there at the top echelons is still up to be decided, but it's definitely going to be having some pretty good legs. Thank you guys so much for coming in. We've got Jay coming down from Australia, Nick up in Canada, and Gus over in the UK, giving a lot of the good insights. I hope this has given you guys a lot of ideas on how you can start exploring Armored Infantry on your own, how you can start doing a little bit of list building, and at least give the Centaur a bit more of a try. It's not dead on arrival. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.